Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, karibu sana for the second session and most likely the last session for the day. This is Friday SiasaThon. Hey, we talked about Morara and the spat he had with Miguna, but this time we are going to talk about something else. We are going to talk about what's going on in our country. Today, apparently, Adani officially signed to take over our energy sector for the next 30 years, okay? None other than Opio Andai was there to kind of oversee that process. I know he's the CS of energy, a very useless individual. If you don't know, you know. I will show you. And he also said publicly, shamelessly, telling the people in his presser or whatever he was being interviewed, saying that he, along with his ODM friends, will support William Samoei Ruto well over past 2027. Okay, not only between now until 27, but 2027 and beyond, they will support William Samoei Ruto. That's the state. These are the people who are making a bunch of noise when before they were appointed something CS of whatever the case is. Okay. So this is the kind of people we are dealing with, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comrades. Anyway, before we get that, we'll be talking about a lot of things, including Raila Odinga, on the other hand, was being received by the governor of Mombasa, that terrorist from Yemen, the son of Sharif Nasir, very useless indeed, who needs to be in jail, under the jail, him along with his mom, for brutalizing, sodomizing Bruce. Remember? Yes, these are the kind of people that Raila hangs out with. It tells you a lot. Show me your friends and I'll tell you what kind of person you are. Let's get to it. But let's get started with Wandai. Wandai gave his a little, I don't think it was a press conference. It was more like he was being asked a question and he was answering, and he just declared his support. And he said, yes, him and ODM shall support William Samoei Ruto well beyond 2027. And this was after he had signed off things with Adani for Adani to take over the energy sector. Okay, but anyway, here it is. Let's get to it. Then I will play you something else from another channel that I found interesting. Let's start with this. Just a short. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining me, if it's your first time, go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, put your notification on so every time I come in, you can always find me. I'll open the section 2 later after I finish ranting, because today is a SiasaThon. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's start with Wandai. Wandai, this is what Wandai said. Listen to Wandai very carefully. This is the man who was really opposing Ruto until he was made a CS. Okay, here it is.
Kwa sababu wakati Mheshimiwa Rais alitualika, mimi kama mjuavyo nilikuwa upinzani, si ndio? Lakini nchi ni muhimu kuliko individual na kuliko chama. Sawa sawa. Kwa sababu wakati Mheshimiwa Rais alitualika, mimi nikakubali haraka kabisa. Akaamua kwamba anaunda serikali inayojumuisha kila Mkenya na kila kabila. Namna hiyo, ili wananchi wawe kitu kimoja na wafanye kazi wakiwa kitu kimoja, ili maendeleo ipatikane. Na sisi mimi nina hakika hiyo uhusiano, mheshimiwa, huo uhusiano tadumu. Tadumu kabisa hata beyond next elections. Sisi tumeshikana na Mheshimiwa Rais kikamilifu. Si kubahatisha. Sisi tuko ndani ya serikali na serikali iko imara. Wow. Serikali haina wasiwasi hata kidogo. Sawa sawa. Ni jukumu lenu na sisi sote tulinde serikali isimame. Na tuunge Mheshimiwa Rais mkono aendelee kuongoza nchi hata baada ya next elections. Si namna hiyo? Sisi kule kwetu tumetoka kule Siaya, Nyanza. Kule kwetu tukiamua tumeamua. Kwa hivyo tumeamua tunashikana na Mheshimiwa Rais. Hata mkisikia kelele msiwe na wasiwasi. Kelele ndogo ndogo. Msiwe na wasiwasi hata kidogo. Si namna hiyo?
Oh wow. he's telling you, he's saying we should support Ruto beyond 2027. We shall support him, that I'm quoting him. He'll support Ruto beyond 2027. Not even, in fact, he's saying we should support the president. You see the government iko imara, which means he's supporting everything that this government does, including abducting people who are against this government. Abductions and the killings of people, anyone who is criticizing the government, he is doing. This guy. Yasi karibu, what does he say? Hi, please don't make bro usitujane watu. I don't know what you're saying, Nani. But anyway, yeah, so that's Wandai. Wandai is a pinhead, a proper pinhead, a useful idiot. Here he is. Let me show you something. While he's smiling and cheesing up and happy that he's part of the Ninio, here he is. Jamani Kenya. Listen to him. This is what's happening. This is according to KTN. Listen up. Read this carefully as I show you what is going on in Kenya. Here it is. Let me show you. Can you guys read the screen? Can you see the screen? Can you read the screen? All right. Here it is. Read with me. So many na mimi. Ketraco and Adani Energy Limited, Inc., whatever the case is. Okay, sorry. Inc., as far as pen or sign, a 95.7 billion agreement to operate, maintain transmission lines and substations for 30 years in bid to curb power blackouts. Energy CS Wandai says. I will read it again so you can understand what I'm saying. Kentraco and Adani Energy Limited have signed a 95.7 billion Kenyan shilling agreement to operate, maintain transmission lines and substations for 30 years in bid to curb power blackouts. Energy CS Wandai says. You can see that idiot after that was going there, cheesing it up. Probably he got a percentage. That's why you see he was so happy, laughing and saying, Sijali, makelele kidogo, 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 kidogo. You see that he has total disregard for the concerns of the common mwananchi. Before I get my blood pressure up, I want to play a clip from another channel, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, comrades. And I want to give props to Wasos TV for pointing out this. This was an interview by Gachoka. He's a journalist, Gachoka. He's known to be drinking a little bit. But Gachoka pretty much, he's was his concerns. He was giving his concerns about where the country is going. I want to play it so we can listen to it. It's kind of lengthy, but don't worry. This is a SiasaThon. I'll put the link in here and everybody and anyone can come in and have a discussion. Okay? So hapa tuko hapa. Hata kama mnataka kukaa hapa mpaka kesho asubuhi, tutakaa hapa mpaka kesho asubuhi. Ama namna gani? Si leo ni Jumaninio. Si Juma ngapi? I don't know how we call it. But like the video. Tony Gachoka. Thank you, KK. Tony Gachoka had something to say, and I really like his passion, what he was saying, and he made sense. Listen carefully. It's a bit lengthy, but it's very informative. So pay attention. It's free. Pay attention. It's free. Twende kazi. Because I think it breaks down how these political parties are really kind of messing up. Boy, twende.
On a false promise on every avenue. And
by the way, I want to give props to Wasos TV. I'm using this video for education purposes. So yeah, thank you. Subscribe there too and like and share. It's a good channel. Believe it.
Issue. And he decided when he came into power, the first thing he would do is to finish the opposition. Kenya is a multi-party democracy as defined in Chapter 4. And in fact, when you talk about a multi-party democracy, you talk about a government, but you also talk about an opposition. And one of the reasons the Political Parties Act was amended and signed into law by former President Kenyatta, it was because we wanted coalitions to be formed before or after elections to ensure that a government, once elected, was also to face a strong opposition so that the people could get a better government. So the first round of 16, William Ruto bought individual members of parliament and the Senate. He bought and destroyed political parties, and he took over the majority Azimio had won
Pace up
Sorry about that, guys.
now makes your M-Pesa
Show.
TL
I will
better
get rid of
with
it
your
in a
tel
minute.
number integrated with Pace
That's it.
Stop.
In the National Assembly, by imposing not only the leader of opposition position to leader of majority for government, both in the Senate and Parliament, but in actually taking over political parties that voted against him. So from day one, William Ruto had a disproportional amount of power, which he did not win through a will of the people or through elections. He had no mandate to the power he was exercising. He had stolen the mandate not only of government, but that of the opposition. Now, obviously, at that time, the opposition went to the streets to try to object the way in which Ruto was manhandling the opposition. They were tricked into Bomas of Kenya, where they went to watch William Ruto dance, and he danced them to sleep and formed what was called the NADCO report, which was just basically another way of buying time so that the country's passions could go down. And then the Gen Z movement came, and when it came, it took over the agenda of the country. Again, this man, the butcher of Sagoi, was able to use state force. Remember, and Kenyans keep forgetting, as we speak now, Kenya is a military state. The military state, because the KDF, which was deployed during the protest, is still deployed. No rescinding of that order has ever been done, and Kenyans will have forgotten that the military can come to the streets. But Ruto was testing. If I push the democratic needle forward and this country goes into mayhem, what can I do? State police, on top of that, I have the military, therefore I can crush despondency. Fast forwarding to the final 16, if you take Baba into the tent, bring ODM into a broad coalition government, then anything left in terms of opposition in Kenya is no longer existent. And therefore, why not let Senator Cheregai test the waters? Legwa says that this bill will not meet the threshold of the constitution, but it has got Kenyans talking about how you can extend Ruto's term to 7 years, how you can be able to extend not just him, but the term of parliament. And MPs, once they hear they can be extended, will be all lining up behind him with ODM now in bed with the government of UDA that would pass in parliament. So the question that I want to ask tonight is not really just about the Cheregai bill, but what are we doing to stop William Ruto feeling that he can become another African dictator? African dictators have begun the same way Ruto is going. From Amin Dada of Uganda to Mobutu Sese Seko to Samuel Doe to Bokassa. All of them have begun by testing the constitution and acting outside the constitution. So what I did by starting this petition, I got an able team of lawyers, Degwa Njiru, Kibe Muigai, and so on. And we began to say, let us test, Zakayo in regard to him versus the people, the issue of sovereignty, so that we can be able to make the courts, cornered in one area of law that they find very difficult to get away from. What is the role of the public? What is the issue of public participation? And what is the voice of the people? And therefore, I want to congratulate the judge who entered the judgment on the KICC matter, because that is the first blood we are drawing from Zakayo's greedy veins to show that he cannot dispose of national heritage and monuments at his will. That kind of trend is what we are trying to pursue when we are pursuing the JKIA matter, to say that this is a national asset belonging to the people of Kenya, and you cannot do that. If we continue to demonstrate that and we begin to push the courts to their limits, then all these issues, whether it's a 7-year extension, whether it's the sale of JKIA, when all those issues will come back to what about the public, as was the issue of the finance bill of 2024. So I want to say, and I want to say it today without any fear of contradiction, that in the JKIA deal, which will start its hearings on October 17th of this month, coming, we are going to be testing not just the courts, we are going to be testing the country's readiness to test what is public participation. Should we come out in victory of JKIA, I see a time that the country will rise up and believe in the power of the public and believe that the public can actually triumph over Zakayo. And that is where I think this country needs to go. So I want to tell this forum today that we are going to do everything in our power to make sure we save JKIA, because in saving JKIA, we send a warning signal as we enter the quarterfinals with Zakayo that the public will not stop and the sovereignty of the Kenyan people will win and triumph over him. We must of all right now start being very, very critical of the people we are calling were heroes of yesterday. My friend Raila Odinga, who Jimmy and I know well, I want to warn him in this forum, and I want to tell him openly, if you become the man that goes to save Zakayo, you will not only be abdicating your responsibility as an opposition leader, but you will be killing the democratic state that was envisaged by our founding fathers. And this will be a legacy even Jaramogi will not forgive you for. Because the whole idea of fighting for Section 2A under the Moi regime was that we have a multi-party state where opposition parties would hold the government of the day to account. This way we are proceeding is making our citizens go and elect us in elections, which is their duty, and then tell them to manage the executive, to hold it to account and to remove it when they have also elected opposition MPs to do that on their behalf. So I wanted today to change this conversation. This is an important subject because it's dealing with economic pain. Economic pain is actually the whole purpose of any government. And unfortunately for ourselves right now, the government is not being held to account. When the framers of the 2010 Constitution put it together, under Article 4, which declared Kenya to be a republic, there was the provision that Kenya is a sovereign republic under Part 1, but under Part 2, the Republic of Kenya shall be a multi-party democratic state founded on national values and the principles of government that follow Article 10. The reason that I'm bringing this up is because the only way in which a democratic republic can function is when the government of the day is held to account by the people of the country. I want to bring this alarm because Jimmy Wanjigi was speaking competently about what the executives have been doing wrong. And he was talking about the need for us, the people, to hold that government to account. But the only reason that we are being asked to hold the government to account is because of the failure, complete failure of the opposition.
Sorry, guys.
U.S. citizen, you can vote from here, and even here.
And therefore, we cannot have any discussion about progressing Kenya with only Ruto must go. There must include the removal of this parliament and this Senate. Because the President Ruto, when he came into office, his first act was to buy political parties. All of you saw how quickly he moved to do that. And where he could not buy the parties, he bought individual members of parliament. Under our constitution, which is modeled under the Westminster model, the opposition is meant to be an official opposition with equal power to a government so that they can oppose the government of the day in order that the people can get a better government. And the public finances in the consolidated fund are meant to fund that opposition equally as they fund a cabinet and as they fund the presidency. So that at any point, the country is having a mirror. Our country is having a dual view, dual highway as to what is happening in the country. And since we allowed Ruto to raid the opposition benches and to actually assume the majority leader in parliament, when actually Azimio won the majority of members in parliament, then nobody is holding Ruto to account. traditionally, the watchdogs in Parliament, the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, the Public Investment Committee are chaired by the opposition. And the constitution under the Westminster model envisaged that a government cannot police itself. It must be policed by the opposition. And the Attorney General and the Auditor General and all the heads of any corporation or ministry were required to go to either committee for scrutiny, the same way they would have to go if the president was to summon them. And these are the reports, for example, that came during the Goldenberg scandal, during the Moi time, during the Kibaki time, the agro-leasing scandal, and so forth. But now what you have is the executive in full control of Parliament, in full control of the executive, and therefore there is no accountability. And the citizens, as Jimmy is saying, we need to educate people, but the level at which we are educating the people means they don't have the access to government records. And unless Jimmy had put the kind of money he did to get the forensic audit, it was not possible. Yet the Constitution provides that we, the people, fund the opposition, and they have access to government records, have got access to everything so that they can give us this information. So as a people, we should never have reached this position if Parliament and if the opposition was doing its work. Why do I raise this issue? I raise this issue because the Jay-Z revolution of 2024 is very different from the revolutions we had run before against Moi and against the second liberation, let's say. And the reason it is different, they started with the no finance bill by occupying Parliament and naming the MPs, tukaende tukasalimie hawa ma MPs. Then what happened is there was equal fear on government MPs as there was on opposition MPs. And it was the panic of those members of Parliament because of this revolution strategy that jilted Ruto to say he will not sign the finance bill. It's because MPs went to him and told him we are finished. If we do this, we are gone, and these people will throw us out. So I want to say that, so what are the Kenyan people being treated to? We are being treated to musical chairs of these people who have been corrupted in the system. So it doesn't matter if they're in the opposition or in the government, they are all in one boat. And this is why we must sound this alarm. Because if the MCAs in Eldoret or where that young lady was coming from, I could hear her paying of this Finland money. If all the MCAs of the opposition had taken her clarion call, I can tell you that money would have been paid back by the county. But because the executive is not doing it and the opposition is not doing it, this young girl becomes the advocate of the grandfathers and grandmothers of that area of Kenya. So today I want to say this. And I really hope that Raila Odinga's friends are on this line. Because before this, the only critic of Raila Odinga was Miguna. And I found sometimes he could be excessive in his language. But I want to tell Odinga, after working with him for several years, Kenya is at crossroads. And this particular time, I know you're having resistance from other leaders of Azimio. I want to tell this country why the court rejected BBI. BBI was rejected by 5 judges of the High Court because they said that this was driven by the president and Raila Odinga. It was not driven by the public. It was not people-driven. And because it was not people-driven, the judges, Judge Ogunda, Judge Ngugi, Judge Nyaga, and Matheka, and all of them said that the only way to alter the constitution is to involve the people and get them to begin the agenda, where the people are only acting because the opposition is not acting. So as Jimmy is saying, if these matters had just also had more people giving Jimmy some space, if there were more leaders in the opposition, if there were more people adding voice and adding firewood to this fire, this issue of economic rape and economic destruction of Kenya would have reached all of us sooner before we get from the frying pan to the fire. Why am I raising these things? I'm raising these things because I was a press officer or press head of ODM in 2007 and working for Raila Odinga. And that time, I remember that when there was post-election violence in Kenya, Anyang' Nyong'o, who was Secretary General of ODM, wrote a letter to The Hague, to the prosecutor, and said, at ODM, we would like to bring information of crimes against humanity that were done in this country. and they named William Ruto as one of the offenders, according to the violations that could amount to human rights. And following the letter of ODM, William Ruto was charged with 3 crimes of forcible eviction of population and so forth under the Charter of Human Rights. And the same Raila today is telling us that this thing he saw on the streets where 41 people were killed, when he was leading demonstration, 70 somebody people were killed. He's okay with it now that he can talk to Ruto for some dialogue to form some government of national unity. Then I have a duty to call out who was my former friend and say, as much as we are fighting Ruto, we must fight you. Because if you are going to take the country back every time we move forward, this generation cannot inherit our mistakes because we have allowed this to continue to be the borders apparatus. We go forward and deals are made from IPPG, a settlement, political settlement. We go back, government of national unity. We go back, we go to NADCO. From the day we went to NADCO, what one thing has been implemented in NADCO? People told me the other day there is the electoral commission. That electoral commission, who will appoint those people who will go to appoint commissioners? It will be a meeting between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. And if Odinga remains compromised as he is, how do you think we'll have a people's electoral commission? And that is why this nation, this country at this time, must do everything possible to constitute a public constituent assembly, form a transitional authority, and take power. And I want to say, if we do not do that, then these generations and those people who died will repeat the mistakes of their fathers. We are going to go back to a talking shop. We are going to go back to political settlements. Raila will be the chairman of the African Union. His daughter will be the head of somewhere in Yala, and Kalong, and whoever else will be where. I just want you and this country to understand the dangers we are in.
Yep.
We are traders. It's in our DNA to make bold decisions when everything is on
the dangers that we have are not tied to the executive. They are tied to abuse of the 2010 Constitution. As I finalize, I wanted to say that under the 2010 Constitution, Chapter 4 gave the Bill of Rights. And that Bill of Rights, read together with Chapter 1, where the sovereignty is with the people, was put in Bomas of Kenya by very senior people like Yash Guy for a reason, because they foresaw a situation where the government and the opposition betray the people. So in the 2010 Constitution, and Kenya has one of the most advanced constitutions in the world, they put the Bill of Rights, where the sovereignty ran with the people. And to change that constitution, the executive could not manipulate the opposition to change it. And why the BBI was defeated by the High Court is they said if the executive conspires with the opposition to change the constitution, then the public will be have no defense. And this is a preserve only for the people of Kenya. And therefore, I would like to encourage. So my parting comment is that, ambition without knowledge is like a ship on land. And we may be happy saying Ruto must go, but I fear that if we don't change, not just the people who are in parliament, but the way we vote to a tribeless, active, informed election throughout the country, if we do not reduce the cost of leaders, we have 47 counties when we could have 7. We have a woman leader or woman representative who does nothing. She has no duty in the constituency. She has no duty in the county, paid by the public. We've got so many parliamentarians, I don't know how many hundreds, when we could have just 100. We have a bloated system because we said, if we decentralize resources, governors will be okay. Now we have got 47 centers of corruption. Nairobi County should be a ministry in the government of Kenya because of its enormity. And because it is late in the day, and I know many of these people will have things to say, I just wanted to contribute into this conversation that maybe we should have a bird's eye view, a deeper assessment on protecting the democratic state. And it cannot be protected by the executive alone. It must be protected outside the executive as well.
Asante sana kwa kutazama Wasos TV. Huyo amekuwa ni Tony Gash.
So Tony Gachoka mentioned a lot of things that I've been ranting about here, and part of it is, I mean, I don't want to go through them again, but I just want to highlight the main ones, which is, you know, the whole sham or fallacy or game behind the IBC amendment bill, which I've also talked about. I've said that this thing had been agreed upon with Ruto and Raila, and they will basically handpick their own commissioner who will announce the leader, or I mean, the winner of the 2027 presidential election, and every MP or electable seat where they want their own people to win. So if you're banking on 2027, please put your money somewhere else. That's why somebody like Miguna I also share the sentiments that saying that asking the government to constitute the IEBC is just silly. They've already made up, they already changed the law. I told you this months ago, 3 months ago, I told you. The game has already been rigged. You cannot trust the referee. Referee ashanunuliwa. So that's why I'm saying people like Morara and others who are calling for this, let's constitute the IBC and these issues in the court and all that stuff. They're either ignorant or they are working for Ruto. Do not. The IBC should only be reconstituted after Ruto has been removed through popular revolution. Number two, again, what I found interesting is how he explained the whole game that is being played by the opposition, how the political parties act is being violated, and all that, so forth, so forth. It's like you go to vote for a certain candidate, and that certain candidate is rigged or is rigged. They rig the results against that candidate. Then the candidate that you actually rejected is bring both at a later tenor to be your president for the next, 5 years. For example, in 2017, the majority of Kenyans rejected Uhuru Kenyatta in droves, voted against him, and he lost. But guess what? The loser decided to actually concede defeat and came into, joined the defeated president who ruled us for basically another 5 years, 10 years in total with Ruto. Same thing with the Ruto. Okay, Ruto won or whatever. If Raila was rejected, then look at him. He's back in bado amerudi kwa ninio kwa ninio. So it's almost like they're telling us, we don't care whether you vote or not, whether you vote for a certain candidate or not, we are going to be in government and there's nothing you can do. We've seen that. Raila has been losing elections since I don't know when, but he's always in the government for some reason. So that's basically what he's saying, that these people violate the constitution over and over and over, and they are above the law. So this is what. But the trending news right now, it's all about this Adani thing. It's official now, apparently, that Adani has taken over section past power in sector for the next 30 years. This is sad news to be. This is sad news. This is really sad. But it's reality, okay? Adani has taken over. They've signed the deal, and now for the next 30 years, we'll be depending on them as renewal. In fact, let me run that news clip real quick before I bring people in who want to share their sentiments about what's transpiring in Kenya. Here it is.
Billion shillings. Ketraco says they have conducted comprehensive due diligence on Adani Energy Solutions before signing the agreement. The deal, which will involve the development of 5 transmission lines and substations, will address the country's persistent power blackouts, according to the Energy CS, Opio Wandai. Here's Jasmine Wambui with the details of the deal.
The government has today inked a deal with Adani Energy Solutions Limited after 4 months of negotiations. The project agreement will enable the government develop and maintain key transmission lines and substations across the country to address the issue of blackouts. The project is estimated to cost a total of 5.68 billion Kenyan shillings.
As a country, we cannot afford, given our fiscal space, we cannot afford as a country from our taxes to undertake these very, very big infrastructure projects. If we were to undertake them from our taxes, it would take 50 plus years.
Adani Energy Solutions in this private-public partnership will raise all the funding required for the project in the form of debt and equity. The government, according to the CS, will not incur any financial costs related to this project. Upon completion, Adani will manage the transmission lines and substations it will construct for 30 years, after which the project and all its assets will be handed over to KETRACO. A total of 5 transmission lines and power substations will be developed. One is a 400 kilovolt Gilgil to Thika to Mala and to Konza transmission line, stretching 208.73 kilometers and featuring new substations in Gilgil, Thika and Mala. The second is a 220 kilovolt transmission line from Rongai to Keringet to Chemosit, which will cover 99.98 kilometers with new substations at Rongai, Keringet and Chemosit. A third 132 kilovolt transmission line will be constructed from Menengai to Olkalau to Rumuruti and will extend for 89.89 kilometers. Substations will be constructed at Menengai, Olkalau and Rumuruti. The project will also include the construction of 400/220 kilovolt substations at Lesos and a 132/33 kilovolt substation at Thurdibhuru. In the coming days and in accordance with the Public-Private Partnership Act of 2021, Article 69, KETRACO will be required to publish details of the agreement in 2 dailies of national circulation, highlighting the following: the nature and key terms of the agreement, the works to be developed or services to be provided, the winning bidder, the amount of public funds, if any, allocated to the project tariff, if applicable, any government support provided, the social and economic benefits of the project's duration, the expected condition of the assets when handed back, and how the project will be monitored and reported on during its implementation. The government maintains that KETRACO conducted comprehensive due diligence on Adani Energy Solutions along with thorough stakeholder engagement. CS Opiyo Wandayi says the project will be crystallized through a competitive bidding process that will ensure business opportunities for locals. Jasmine Omboi, Citizen TV.
Okay, so as you can see, it's official, like the referee's whistle. Adani is officially in charge. Well, it is said Adani is secretly owned by Ruto, whatever the case is, and I don't know. Tunarudi kwa barabara manamna gani? Now, let's listen to this tool by ODM tool that is bragging about, you know, the whole Adani deal. Here it is. This is what he wrote. Kaloma. These are the guys who are being used to, you know, cause division. Mnamwona hapo. You can see. Here he is. He's still trying to, you know, distract people and divide people. By this day and time next week, Kenya will have a deputy president who respects the president, brings dignity and respect to the office of the deputy president, respects our government's institutions, including the judiciary and the national security organ, who respects the people of Kenya and will not advocate for exclusion and discrimination of members of any ethnic community or region from development, and who respects widows and orphans. Now you see what's happening. These are people who are hired to make a lot of noise. Okay. Yes, I agree. As KK is saying, we have to go back to the streets. That's the only way. Even Babu will say today that we have to go back to the streets and stay there until Zakayo Shuka. I mentioned this for the first time in a long time. Babu Owino and Miguna has never been on the same page, but they're both saying watu warudi kwa maandamano mpaka Ruto atoke, because now they're doing things they don't care. You saw and I even joking, and he's referring to the concerns by majority of Kenyans as hiyo ni makelele kidogo. This was a small makelele that we shouldn't be we shouldn't be worried about. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. They do not care. They don't respect the wananchi. Absolutely, they do not. They don't care. They're doing whatever, and they know there's nothing, like they are not worried about any consequences, okay? Donald Kipurir, Nambia. Anyway, even Jeremiah Kioni, as much as I don't really value his opinion, he said something about the shift. I don't know if I should play it, but it's there. Meanwhile, the Ayatollah of the ODM is in where is he? He's in Mombasa, meeting the Mr. Sodomizer, the Abdul Samad Nasir meeting, choosing it up. They're ready for the ODM, I don't know, neck, whatever. Ujinga. Cyprian Nyakundi has a very interesting piece on this, and I'll read this piece, then I'll open the Denio for people if they want to get in. Okay? Listen to this. And I think this relates to what KK is saying about Adani being Ruto. Okay? Gypsy Kona is saying, KK, you're Murara's great friend, so he shouldn't dupe you. And why does they want to just versus Gachagua? Yeah, okay. All right. So here is what Cyprian Nyakundi said. Read it carefully. I'll read with you. Let's pay attention. Pay attention. It's a bit lengthy, but I'll read it very quickly so we can get to open the Neo for anyone and everyone who wants to get in. Cyprian Nyakundi, or Cyprian is Nyakundi. That's his name. Let me take a sip. Adani to manage Kenya's power transmission lines for 30 years in 95.7 billion Kenyan shillings deal. The Kenya Electricity Transmission Company Limited, Kentraco, has entered into a 95.7 billion agreement with Adani Energy Solutions Limited. This deal will facilitate the operation and maintenance of transmission lines and substations for a duration of 30 years. The initiative aims to tackle ongoing power outages in Kenya. Energy Cabinet Minister Opiyo Wandayi announced the signing of the agreement on Friday, October 11, stating, "I am pleased to confirm the successful signing of the project agreement between Kentraco and Adani Energy Solutions Limited on October 9th. He described this agreement as a transformative measure to develop, finance, construct, operate, and maintain essential transmission infrastructure across the nation. Wandayi mentioned that Adani will fund the project using a blend of debt and equity with repayment schedule over the next 3 decades. In quotes, Adani Energy Solutions will oversee the management of the transmission lines for 30 years, guaranteeing long-term sustainability and efficiency, he remarked. Under this agreement, Adani, with the support of Kentraco, will also take charge of the bidding process for the project. After the completion of the 30-year period, ownership of the project assets will revert to Kentraco. This signing comes amid skepticism from some Kenyans about Adani's reputation. Nonetheless, CS Wandayi assured the public that Kentraco conducted thorough evaluations of the company and found no reasons for alarm. The comprehensive project involves developing the Gilgil Thika Mala, Konza, and Menengai Ol Kalu Rumuruti transmission lines, as well as constructing a substation at Lesos, among other infrastructure enhancements. The transmission lines and substation will include 400 kV double circuits, Gilgil Thika Mala Konza line, which spans 208.73 kilometers. New substations will be established at Gilgil, Thika, and Mala with substantial extensions planned at Konza. The agreement marks Adani's second major initiative in Kenya, with ongoing discussions about operating JKIA facilities. Wandai noted that the project will also develop a 220 kV Rongai Karinget Chemosit line covering 99.98 kilometers, which includes substations at Rongai, Keringet, and Chemosit. The 132 kV Menengai All Kalu or Kalou Rumuruti line stretching 89.88 km will feature substations at Menengai, All Kalou, and Rumuruti. The development of the 400 or 220 kV substation at lessons is critical for supporting the transmission network and enhancing regional power stability. The project will also construct 132, 330. It's bullshit. Okay. All right. So you get the gist of it. Let me just wrap it up by saying, by improving electricity transmission capacity, the government aims to foster industrial growth and bolster regional integration, guaranteeing reliable power for industries and households throughout the country. This initiative aligns with the government bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which seeks to promote equitable economic growth and development. Wandai concluded that the project will strengthen the national electricity infrastructure, providing widespread access to power, and will support Kenya economic growth and developmental goals. All funding for the project will be raised by the project company in the form of debt and equity, with repayment planned over the 30-year agreement period. Anyway, a bunch of bull, bunch of bull, bunch of bull, bunch of bull. Let me open up the sessions and see who wants to speak on Adani or whatever the case is, what they think about this, because it seems like Adani is taking over everything in Kenya. And it is said William Samoei Ruto might be part of this. Okay, he might be, more than likely, part of this Adani thing. All right. If you have any information or you want to give your view on this matter, please feel free. There's the link. Come tell me. You can touch on. You can tell me anything about Gachagua, Wandai, ODM. Anything you want to mention, please go ahead. You are more than welcome. Let me play one more video that somebody who's talking about this Adani deal, because I think this is what's a lot of Kenyans are talking about. It's the news of the hour. It has been just announced that they've already put pen in paper. Remember when they were reporting when the Adani CEO came over here to renew? So, yeah. Let me run this. Hold on. Oh, crap. Hold on. I messed up. Let me play this one right here. This is what I want to play. All right. This guy here has also info. Okay. Let's listen
However, good afternoon, Kenyans. This is a very beautiful evening with the sun setting. Very nice. It's setting in a spectacular way. See? However, the sun is setting for Ketrako and also for JKIA. Your president has made sure that he has signed a contract for 30 years with Ketrako to supply electricity and to distribute and to install electricity for Ketrako. Now, Adani is securely in Kenya. What will you do, Kenyans? I think it's becoming darker and darker as the sun rises every day. Darker for Kenyans, darker for our country, and darker for our businesses. Businesses are struggling. People are paining. There's so much pain in Kenya. And the president does not care. How am I benefiting by Gachagua being impeached? That was a decoy, so that they can sign contract with Ketrako. Sad.
So you heard what he said. The whole thing was a decoy. While we were busy talking about Gachagua and how unfair it was, they were busy getting ready to sign that deal with Adani. Now, if you want to know the level of hubris or arrogance by this government, Ruto government, they know that majority of Kenyans do not support Adani, don't like Adani, but they still went ahead and did it. And you could see Wandai basically laughing and saying that they'll support the president in every way and even past 2027. That's the level of arrogance by this administration. Meanwhile, people like Susan Kihika are having hard time in places back in their backyard because this government, the president, is not being received. People don't like it.
Kusikiliza ujumbe huo. Wabunge kadhaa waliohudhuria mazishi hayo pia walilazimika kubadili mkondo wakati watu walipoanza kupiga kelele mara tu walipoanza kuelezea sera za serikali.
Excellency William Ruto
alikuwa na hadhira tulivu hadi alipotaja jina la Rais William Ruto.
Commander in Chief.
Gavana wa kaunti ya Nakuru Susan Kihika alikuwa na kibarua kizito Ijumaa kuwatuliza waombolezaji waliofika kumsindikiza nduguye mbunge wa Bahati Irene Njoki Henry Gashie alipotaka kusoma ujumbe wa risala za rambirambi za Rais William Ruto mazishini.
From His Excellency William Ruto, President of the Republic and Commander in Chief.
Kihika akilazimika kuwaomba radhi wakazi ili kumruhusu kusoma ujumbe huo. Na baada ya kusoma ujumbe kwa haraka, Kihika aliwapongeza wakazi kwa kumpa taswira kamili ya hali halisi mashinani.
Todo agadi koishi mure fireworks. No tukaugaterere. We appreciate you. Todo ni mutuheaga feedback jega niguo.
Hakuwa peke yake.
Serikali ya Rais William Ruto.
Kabla yake mbunge wa Ndia George Masharia pia alikuwa na wakati mgumu zaidi.
Barabara zote hapa Kenya, sana sana zile barabara zimekwama kidogo, tutazitengeneza zote.
Juhudi zake za kueleza miradi ambayo serikali imetenga, kupanga na kukubaliana kutekeleza zikigonga mwamba. Yeye pia akilazimika kufupisha hotuba yake.
Nimeona mmefurahia sana na Bwana Yesu awabariki.
Ingawa alikuwa na mafanikio finyu kwenye juhudi za kuuza sera za serikali, mwakilishi wa kike wa Kiambu Anne wa Muradha, ambaye kwa mara nyingi hupata wengi wanaojumuika naye kuimba nyimbo maarufu za jamii ya Kikuyu, wakati huu alilazimika kujisikiza mwenyewe.
Tusifanye makelele kwa sababu tuko kwa mazishi. Washeni tusifanye makelele, karibuni.
Na baada ya wabunge wengine kusoma majira,
ili kwenda kwa maundu maingi tondu natige koragwo guku ni koragwo Tanzania, riu mungejuria ndeto cia Tanzania, Arusha, Somali.
Kwa nini imagine kama Yesu angekuwa hapa? Kama nyinyi mnasumbua Irene kwa hapa, mnasumbua gavana mnafumu nataka basi Irene nataka.
Emmanuel Toru, Ninga Citizen.
Okay. You see, Ruto is not a name that you should mention anywhere in public place unless you are somewhere in, I don't know, in his backyard or kitu ka hicho. But other than that, hiyo ni kitu wananchi hawataki kusikia. It didn't stop there. Well, there's a pastor who is going viral with kuna askofu wanaenda viral kwa sababu ya what he was preaching.
Give generously to others in need. This verse is for the thieves. If you are a thief, quit stealing. Instead, use your hands for good hard work and then give generously to others in need. This verse is for the thieves, especially those who are in. the thieves who are with us in this mass, na wezi wenye wanatufuata kwa mtandao, wezi mmesikia. Hapa kunao. Unaniangalia.
Wait, is this real? Am I in Ngoja, is this a real? Am I near Wongo? I have to play this one more time. Hii ni fake. You cannot be. Ujamata dedishwa. Hold on, wait a minute. Ati kama ama kuna wengine hapa. Oh, this is a joke.
If you are a thief, quit stealing. Instead, use your hands for good hard work and then give generously to others in need. This verse is for the thieves, especially those who are in the thieves who are with us in this mass, na wezi wenye wanatufuata kwa mtandao, wezi mmesikia. Hapa kunao. Unaniangalia aje suspiciously. Ephesians 4:28.
Hii kitu iko ndio. This thing is ndio. Hii kitu imekuwa inaitwaje edited this year. Wacheni mchezo. This is edited. Any joke.
If you are a thief, quit stealing. Instead, use your hands for good hard work and then give generously to others in need. This verse is for the thieves, especially those who are in the thieves who are with us in this mass, na wezi wenye wanatufuata kwa mtandao, wezi mmesikia. Hapa kunao. Unaniangalia aje suspiciously. Ephesians 4:28. Nataka nisome tena ili wezi msikia. If you are a thief.
Okay. It's edited, but it's funny. Especially watu kuna waizi hapa, kwani mnaniangaliaje? Greeting, Chief Niggas, guys. I've said it before on this platform that Kenyans will come together on the streets all over the country only then their ancestral shambas are being taken, only when their ancestral shambas are being taken by Ruto and globalists. Yes. Kwa Kenya tuko na shida. Lakini that edit was funny. Kwani hii Kenya tunasumbuliwa na mtu mmoja tu. Kwani amewekwa na gam. That was funny. Majority of people are still not angry enough. We are still too comfortable. We are still too immature, which is why we are easily distracted. Kweli. Somebody say something that I kind of tend to agree with. Alikuwa nasema if the Kenya's middle class wakijam, that's when this thing will flip over. Because the middle class guys are the ones who, when the taxes are being raised, when we are being overtaxed, those are the ones who bear the brunt. Because it is them who work and, they're the working class, okay? Because Ruto is not expanding the tax base. So we don't have a lot of people employed, new people employed. It's the same people who have been having these jobs. And when the taxes are raised, kumbuka, the rich people don't pay taxes. They don't care. So if those middle class guys flip, then but it might not even get there, because the rate at which Ruto is kind of messing up, especially this Adani Ninio. And now again, I agree with Nani, Miriam and KK. This Adani thing, we were being tulikuwa tunaenjoliwa. Okay, tulikuwa tunaenjoliwa. Gachagua was a distraction while they were signing this Adani thing, and you saw. And Nani is not apologetic about it. Hata jifichi is anatuambia kwa sura yetu, anatuambia, we'll support Ruto and we'll supporting beyond 2027. And again, always pay attention to to this pinhead called Wandai. Wandai is a pinhead that usually echoes what Raila and Ruto thinks. Remember, he's the guy who told us about the NADCO report, and he's the guy who told us about the IBC amendment bill before it happened. And now he's telling us about the support they'll give Ruto beyond 2027. You know that there's something cooking. So that means that, they are new. So pay attention to when Wandai speaks, okay? Correct. And it's the same middle class that are maintaining the status quo by remaining in their comfort zone. Now, yes, it's very hard for someone, like you said rightfully so, Chief Negus. I agree with you 175%. It's, I think they're torn between, because they're thinking, Mazee, if I sacrifice everything, because before you get to the streets, before people get to the streets and decide that wataenda maandamano and they will not stop the maandamano until Ruto leaves, they have to think about how they will leave, how they will, where will they get their money, how they're going to survive, basically. Ukifika, you see the Gen Zs and the young people, the university students and all these people, and the lower class, let me just use that, the proletariat. They have nothing to lose because they don't have anything. Okay, so for them, it's like, you know what? Okay, we are on board. But these guys from the middle class, who maybe wako na project kwa nyumbani, wanajenga kanyumba, wanameshamba, so, and they're paying in, maybe wako na mortgage, I don't know. So before they go to the streets, they have to, really fika hiyo stage ambayo, which you've rightfully described as, kama mbaya ni mbaya. Kama mambo yaribike nitatuma watoto wangu ushago, but I'm going to the streets because this is unbearable. But we shall get there. We shall get there. We are heading there fast. That's why I'm saying, Ruto, middle class are part of why we haven't fixed things. I won't blame them. I won't blame the middle class for, you can't blame someone for, but yes, you're right. They're not, they don't want to sacrifice it. That's true, because it's a sacrifice. Sacrifice is a hard thing to do. It's not an easy choice. It's not easy. So I think it would be misplaced if we start pointing fingers at the middle class and say they're the ones who are holding us back. That's a misplaced blame shifting, so to speak. I don't think it's fair for them to say it's okay. I mean, I understand it. The problem is Ruto and Ruto's regime. Now, whoever wants to go out and remove him, whether it's the lower class or whatever the case is, that's fine. But because remember, in a revolution, not everyone shall be part of it. But the important thing is, if the majority of the people, again, going back to the constitutional democracy, if we constitute the majority, and the majority in Kenya are the proletariats, the people watu wa mkono, the people who can barely make it. It's not the middle class. So we don't have to wait for the middle class to flip in order to, go and take Ruto out. What is actually holding us back in Kenya, what is stopping us from having a popular revolution to remove Ruto or to overhaul the system, is that we are divided. We are divided. I took on one page. There are people who still believe in Morara. There are people who still believe in Caswell. There are people who still like Gachagua. There are people who believe in Ruto, believe me or not. There are people who are happy with Raila. There are people who believe in Kalonzo. There are people who believe in, you see what I'm saying? But once we get to an understanding, we get to that understanding that we don't need civic education. We don't need all these leaders and all these Samuels, Moraras and Gachaguas and Railas and Kalonzos and Uhurus. And we need us. coming together as a collective so we can constitute the majority of the population, then we can decide, let's go to the streets and we are not going to leave until Ruto leaves. And that's a sacrifice in itself, which might take time depending on the situation. Now, if this incidences like Adani being signed, we still don't know how people are going to react. We are giving it time. It's still simmering in. Mambo ina marinate. If Gachagua gets impeached, those are factors that can exacerbate this situation, that can lead others to go to the streets. And it can be a sporadic beginning of maandamano that can lead to a popular revolution. Because remember, even in Tunisia, even in Egypt during the Arab Spring, Sudan, they started in sections. Ilianza tu polepole. Watu walianza hivi, ikaenda hivi, ikaenda hivi, ikaenda hivi, ikaenda hivi. Then before you know it, it caught fire, and this was the whole country, and the president had to go. So let's wait and see. It's a wait and see situation. If we can get to rally around one Nino. So yes. Chief Negus anasema the only other way to bring this country to halt by having an economic go-slow, strain, and system of taxes by not conducting business. If nothing moves economically, the whole system starves. That's true. I think in Isiolo, that's what's happening. The healthcare workers have gone on strike. Okay. Okay. Kenyans need themselves, and just maybe we involve the army because enough is enough. Yes. You remember when I played that video about the army? The lady that spoke about the army? I think it was very, very, very informative. Do I still have it? I think it was very, very eye-opening, the way she described the thing and what was actually happening behind the scenes. I think that kind of reminded us of how powerful the people are. There's another video I wanted to show for those of you who care about the Shule Gachagua beef.
Ms. Shole stands at 2.207 billion.
The grounds for her dismissal in the proceedings, the JSC would then later make public its decision to oust her.
The financial outlay in the entire corpus of allegations against Ms. Shole stands at 2.207 billion.
The grounds for her dismissal: incompetence, misbehavior, insubordination, violation of the prescribed code of conduct for judicial officers, violation of Chapter 6 and Article 232 of the Constitution. The Commission had lodged 87 allegations against Shule on financial and human resource mismanagement, irregularities and illegalities in procurement and misbehavior. She admitted to 33 of those, in which the JSC says 1.7 billion shillings are either at risk or have been lost. The remaining 38 allegations she denied.
Okay. Hold on. While we are at it, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comrades, leo ni siasa tu, SiasaThon. Are you ready for SiasaThon? Just by the way, I know it's off topic kidogo, lakini
get a paper. Now, let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December, we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise, as an ID, that they should be able to be identified digitally using their iris.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Hold on. You heard what she said. Hold on. Yeah, that's Black Gypsy. Kenya is the Antichrist. Sorry, Ruto is the Antichrist. Hold on. There's something she said. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Using their iris.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Kenya is in serious trouble. Now, for you to accept this, that means you're going to be completely surveilled and controlled. Think about it.
Okay. That's one of the things Ruto approved can happen. So good luck to our kids who are being born in Kenya. Digital ID. Do not let them do that to your kids, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and enemies and comrades. But to Gypsy Connor's point about the military, and she said the military, it would be nice if the military is on our side. Again, there's a lady who made a really good point regarding that. I played it a few days back. I would like to play it again so you can understand that the military are actually with the people. So even if Ruto thinks he can deploy them, wakuje wachape watu bunduki, that might really go against him. They might. So here it is. Listen to this. I'll play it again one more time for you guys to listen. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment, and all that good stuff. Here it is. I'll play one.
This is the Gen Z Mandamano. Dear Mr. President, I'm about to tell the whole country a top secret that you've been hiding away from everyone since the Gen Z Mandamano. It's mind-blowing when you find yourself in certain rooms. So here's exactly what happened, guys. And I'm not even going to talk about the number of people that were disposed. And don't come for me. I know the exact number, but here I am. I'm not even putting it out there. But the people deserve to know exactly what transpired of the access. Now, you guys remember when the national government brought police to take care of the coup in Mandamano, right? We remember that very well because the police were brutal and they killed a lot of people. Now, the part that you guys are not aware of is that the president reached out to our army to also come in. Now, here's what most of you are not aware of, because most of you saw the army escorting the common wananchi, and my age mates, they were being escorted all the way back home. If you guys remember those clips, what you're not aware of is what exactly transpired, and this is what everyone needs to know. Now, the president approaches the army, tells them if they can come help in the current situation that is happening. The army, our Kenyan army, has risen in ranks over the years. They have There's due number 50 what on NATO. They have accolades they've picked over the years and ranks. And these global ranks you're given when you literally service and protect the people. That is the number one thing, the key role of the army. Now, when the president asked them to come in, the army said, well and good, you're going to come in, but you have to put your instructions down in writing. Now, here's where they cornered your president, because if you're going to put the instructions in writing, this is the army telling you, whatever you put down in writing, you are held accountable to it. Remember, this is something that is going to be faxed. It's not even emailed. That is not how the army works. It's faxed. So the minute he puts it in writing, the entire world has access to his instructions. And your president, being as smart as usual, realized this was me being cornered. So what did he do? Because this was embarrassing. So he wrote to the army and told them, and you guys go greet them. Just go greet them, scare them a bit, and then come back. And that is exactly what Kenyans saw. The army were released from the camp, and the army came. They were even making fun with Gen Zs on the street, and then they saw off these kids safely home. Now, this is the reality Kenyans are not aware of. The president approached the army, and the army put him where he belongs. So, in short, the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Kenya could not command in that situation. And if the country knew this, then Gen Z would have literally gone nuts in terms of their balls, that is. The commander-in-chief became the biggest comedian to all the former generals, to all the armies across the continent and around the world. It is still a laughing stock to date, because where commanders-in-chief give instructions to literally go and protect the country, where other commanders-in-chief give instructions in times of necessity, in times of war, in times of fighting for the nation, your commander-in-chief gave instructions for them to come and greet people. I don't think you guys realize how in the army, this was such a joke. It's the joke of the century. And if you think I'm lying, give a call to any major general around the country, whether current or former, or any person who is senior ranking in the army, and get to know their sentiments around what has occurred in this country this year. What am I saying? It's like the banks, the modern banks today that cannot back up their money with gold. It's the same thing we have right now in our presidency. We have a presidency that cannot be backed up with command. It's crazy. It's crazy once you guys to know that you shook the country to the core. I need you guys to know that you actually made an impact. And you even shook your president to the core. He got to a point whereby he had zero command. His hands were tied. And that is how powerful the common wananchi is. Can we please spread this awareness? And can Kenyans start feeling safe? I promise you, as a country, you're actually backed up with an army that cares about you.
You heard about that?
Oh, this is incredible when you hear it from the people. We have no command. Yeah, let me know what you think.
Okay.
Kenyans are waking up. They're waking up.
So you heard about that. Let me find that it's Kialo. Let me find that it's Kialo handle. Okay. That video that you're talking about. And we can discuss it. Hold on. Wait a minute. Okay. What video is it about? trying to look through that video that you're talking about. All right, let me see. Let's see if we can find that video.